All right, all right, all right. We are live. We are live. So we'll give everybody just a minute to join us, Shelby. And
Okay.
I'm going to make sure that I tag you in it as well so that you can find it and your team can send it out.
Okay.
I just did. I just tagged you in it. Hey, everybody, y'all make sure when y'all come on, y'all say hello. Say hello and let me turn my phone down. Hey, who was that? Y'all say hello, share, and invite. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a very, very important topic of mental health awareness. Hey, everybody, y'all say hey, share, and invite.
Hey.
Share and invite. In a couple of minutes, we're going to get started interviewing this amazing woman that I've known her for a long time, and she's going to share with you the services that she provides. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Tawana and Joyce. Hey, Miss Bessie. Y'all, thank y'all so much. Hey, Coach Lily, y'all share the broadcast for me. We're going to be talking about mental health, and this is the month to be doing it. I didn't even think about it when we were scheduling this, but look how God just lined it up. He lined it up. It's perfect. Hey, Jennifer. Thank y'all for jumping on. Hey, Deborah. It's Monday night at 6:30. I'm interviewing another powerful CEO, and I love that they've all been female so far. It's a blessing. It's just a blessing. Hey, everybody. Okay, y'all are coming on here. Y'all say hey. Make sure y'all share and invite. If you know somebody with a child with mental health conditions, they're receiving any type of services, they want to be on here, they can be encouraged as well. If you know somebody that's been dealing with depression, tag them in this video, because a lot of times these are the things, y'all, we don't talk about, but tonight we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. All right.
Into it.
We're going to get started because I believe that early is on time and on time is late. And so I'm going to let my guest introduce herself, I guess, but first I should introduce myself. My name is Carmela Williams, and I am the co-founder of TC Williams Enterprises. My husband, Troy, and I are both certified coaches, and I love working with female entrepreneurs. And as a way to reintroduce our coaching and leadership training services to the community and to the nation via social media, I'm interviewing people that I have worked with in the past. And so for some reason, I don't know why, this part of our business has not been that public. And so it's been real refreshing to get the feedback and for people to say, we didn't know you were doing that. And so tonight, we're talking to another amazing CEO that I've had the pleasure of working with in the past. She's my guest and my friend, Miss Shelby. If you would introduce yourself, welcome on. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I am Shelby Green. I am the founder and CEO of Raven's Nest Foundation. Raven's Nest Foundation was born in July of 2009. Notice what I said, it was born in 2009. We actually founding this organization, I wanted to be a girl that made a difference in my community, and I had a focus on boys. I had the grand opportunity of working in corrections. And so I went from the corporate world to corrections, so totally opposite side of the spectrum. And once I got into corrections, I realized I had the opportunity of working in the Office of Inmate Discipline. And there I learned that little Johnny grows up.
Yeah, that's right.
So that menace or that knucklehead, as people will say, he grows up. And so
we label them real young, don't we?
Yes, we do. And so, but what I learned in the Office of Inmate Discipline was that majority of those men could not read or write. So it tugged at my heart. And I realized that literacy was at the forefront. So, I prayed about it and I was like, Lord, how can I be a vessel? How can I be used to do good in my community? How can I give back? And so I was like, oh yes, it's not that I'm not for girl power, but I wanted to be a girl nurturing boys. And so the Raven's Nest was founded on those premises. We wanted to build mentorship and literacy within our young men. But once we got to working with these young men, we realized that they needed more than mentoring and literacy.
Right.
So, little Donnie may have been 10 years old and head of his household. Mom and dad is not home. Mom's working, dad's absent, or vice versa. Grandma's working, mom and dad are nowhere to be found.
Right.
And little Johnny is 10 and have 4 or 5 other siblings up under him. So it's so amazing. And I take no credit for it. I tell everyone this organization, I definitely give credit to God, because I had a vision, but then he had a whole different plan.
Right.
And so within 2 years, we were a full-fledged mental health agency.
Awesome.
So glory be to God for that. We offer the gamut of mental health services, from medication management to individual, family, and substance abuse counseling, as well as trauma-focused counseling. So we actually have a staff of over 20 people, and we have a full medical team, nurses, doctors, MAs, to provide your lab work. Because a lot of people don't realize that when you go to a psychiatrist's office, it is actually a doctor's office.
Right. That's right.
A lot of times they get that confused. They don't think that they're supposed to get lab work drawn. Well, guess what? If the doctor puts you on medication, he needs to know what's going on inside of your body.
That's
because
right.
your mental health, your mind is a part of your body.
That's right.
So they're checking your lipid panels, and they're checking your thyroids and everything else that your primary care would check. They're checking the same thing.
Right.
Because when we deal with psychotropics, we want to make sure we get those right, because you can't get psychotropics wrong, because once we flip you, we can't flip you back.
Wow.
So that's very important. So if you do have a mental health provider that is providing you medication management, make sure one that person is specializes in that and authorized to do that. Your primary care physician cannot offer you psychotropic medication for long term. They can only do it short term. So that's very important.
Oh, this is good. This is good already.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you told us about some of the services you offer. Tell us about your educational background. What makes you an expert in this area? Your education or experience or a combination?
So it's actually it's so funny, because it's actually a combination. So the business side is my expertise.
Gotcha.
That's what I went to school for business. But then my passion side is the counseling piece. And it kind of just merged together. And over the years, I tell everybody that sometimes you're a counselor and you don't even realize it. It's something that's innate. It's inside of you. It's a God-given gift. It's, so that you can draw people and engage people to you. And so I've been fortunate to be in this business for 11 years, and still growing and still learning so much. I surround myself with people who are experts. We have a full staff of licensed clinicians. I believe that you should surround yourself with people that are experts in their field, because you don't have the capacity to know it all and be all and do all.
Let me just pause right there. Now that's powerful in itself, because as being a business coach, a lot of times we think we got to master everything in business, and then you can't take care of the need that you were called to take care of. So I like that you said, I can surround, my strength is in the business, and then I got the experts that I have in the key areas to make sure that the needs of the people are being taken care of. I don't want to put no words in your mouth, but is that what I hear?
That's absolutely correct. I am not a therapist, but I have a gamut of therapists, and they range from specialties in child play therapy to substance abuse to trauma. And so we're just really excited in the nest that we are consistently growing, and each day we learn something new. Our psychiatrist specializes in children and adults, and that is very rare to find someone that specializes in children and adults.
Both sides, that's right. And I think you answered that first question, because somebody said, what about drug abuse? So you said substance abuse.
Yes.
And they said physical disabilities. Do you need counseling for that?
So physical disabilities is different. It depends on the level of physical disability. If it's a medical condition for the physical disability, or if it's something that is a developmental disability. So there's a difference in that.
That's right.
Okay. So for the physical disability question, it depends. We can offer the medication management piece because people that have physical disabilities still suffer with anxiety. So we do have
That's
a
true.
lot of clients, some that are wheelchair bound, and they may have seizures, or they may
Okay.
have, different types of anxieties. And for that, we definitely can offer the medication management piece, but we will not be able to offer the therapy piece for children that are on the DD spectrum, on the developmental delay. In terms of, it depends how delayed they are.
Right, right. So I like that it's a case by case basis. Not one doctor can do all things for all people anyway.
Absolutely.
But you know what your specialty is, and that's why you have that team in place that you
Yes.
know where to plug people in at.
Absolutely.
So that's good. And I saw that you all have the CARF accreditation. How important is that in when you're looking for a mental health provider that they have some type of accreditation?
So it's very important because the CARF accreditation is an accreditation that says you know what you're doing and that you are following the policies and procedures and the laws that govern, anything that surrounds mental health and behavioral health, as well as substance abuse. So it's very important to make sure it's the same as if you were going to a college or a school and that
right.
college had to be accredited so that
That's
you can
right.
get your degree. Because without an accreditation, you just have a piece of paper. So basically the CARF accreditation, with CARF, they come in and they actually survey us and go through everything to make sure that we are doing what we say we are doing,
right.
And make sure that we are financially stable, as well as our core providers are licensed providers. So they check our checks and balances are in place from an outside entity, and CARF is a very big entity that offer accreditations. It's not an easy thing to come by.
And I wanted you to talk about that because when I was on your website, I remember that's a really big deal. And you talked about a school. I can create a school, but the degree won't be any good. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I can call what I do counseling, but it's not.
Exactly.
And so let's go into this next question. Why is mental health so important, and why is it not discussed more? Because we were kind of talking off camera, and let's just go into that conversation. And I see y'all questions too. We're going to get to them.
So mental health is probably, I'm going to say it is the number one important thing in terms of health care, because when you're mentally healthy, believe it or not, your body will respond. So a lot of people don't even think about it. When you think about exercising, how many of us go through these yo-yo diets and exercise and we don't get any result, or don't get the results that we want? Right. But guess what? It starts in our mind. So we have to start retraining our mind on how we eat, what our diet looks like, what our exercise regimen is going to be. So it starts there. We have to mentally prepare for that. And the same way we have to mentally prepare for changing our diet or changing, getting ready to conquer a feat or a goal in terms of school, we have to mentally prepare. Well, we have to mentally prepare for our day. In the mornings when we wake up, we want to be mentally prepared. And so if you get sick in your body, you go to your primary care. If you have a tummy ache, you go to your primary care and say, I don't know what this ache is in my stomach, but it's just not right. Well, the same thing happens in the mind. I don't know why I can't get out of bed. I don't know why I'm crying. I can't really understand or know why. I just feel like everything around me nothing's making me happy. So it's very important to understand that if you have these feelings, you need to contact someone that is specialized in mental health. As we talked about earlier, mental health in our community, in the African American community, is very taboo. It's a very taboo subject.
That's right. Because I was telling you, the only reason I know so much about my area is because it happened in my house, and so I had to learn how to be an advocate for my child. But even in that, there were people that would say, ain't nothing wrong with that girl, you just need to beat her, because nobody was going to a counselor or a therapist. And so I didn't have those cells of recognition to pull from. It was totally new.
Right. And so we do. Sometimes we get bad advice, and it's not intentional.
No.
It's just the culture, and it's just the way we were raised, the way we grew up. And so, we were taught to, don't let anybody know what's going on in my household, and just
Yep.
keep everything a secret to cover this up. And so mental health, when we talk about it, that means, oh, something's wrong with me. No, it doesn't. It means that you're strong and you're brave. You're brave enough to ask for help.
That's right.
You're strong enough to understand that this is something that I can't fix by myself.
And I love it. And the other thing that we have to deal with too is in the faith-based community. So I dealt with this as a mama, and I deal with this as a pastor, that when people come to us, we can offer them spiritual advice and we can pray with them. But if people have chemical imbalances and, some mental health issues, we should refer them to a counselor. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. So, I work with a lot of different organizations, and it's so funny that we have these conversations. A lot of pastors and I have this conversation about faith-based counseling versus mental health counseling. There is a difference.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I come on and I do mental health. My mental health matters, and we talk about how mental health is tied to the scripture for those that are anchored in their faith, and it is tied there. However, sometimes we have to go outside of that in terms of the spiritual counseling, and we have to go into the medical and the science. And we got to connect the two. And so it's very important for pastors to understand that, yes, Pastor, I believe truly in prayer, and I
absolutely
stand on the word of God, and I understand that God allowed and gave us these specialists to help those that need something a little bit deeper. And so that's very important for the faith-based community to understand and know that sometimes you definitely will need more than prayer and spiritual counseling.
Yeah, it's like saying, we have to remember, and I'm glad you said that, because I'm a pastor. I believe in prayer. I believe in deliverance. I believe in all of those things, and I know the Lord can work in that way. But I also know that mental health is not a result of lack of faith.
That's right.
And that's the part that we have to make sure that we understand. Just because God dealt with you this way, it may be different for somebody else. And if you take a parent who has a child with autism, or a parent who has a child with a different type of mental health disability, you can't say that the kid, you just got to have enough faith. That family may need some in addition to. So in addition to the prayer, in addition to the things that God do, I believe you are a kingdompreneur. You are a woman of faith. And so partnering with those organizations who believe God, but are also specialists in those areas because he's anointed you for it.
That's right. That is absolutely right. And, we deal with a lot of parents who get very upset about their child in terms of, like, why is my child not normal? Or why is my child not behaving normally? Why can't I reach my child? And, it's so funny because a lot of times, and what I love about our physicians and what I've learned over the years, and being able to have such great physicians to teach me, is that sometimes children are misdiagnosed. A lot of times our children in the African American community are misdiagnosed with ADHD, and it's not ADHD at all.
That's right.
So that
was our first diagnosis, was ADHD. We had to go somewhere else and get some help. And you know what, Shelby, I think about that. I say it all the time. What about those parents who didn't have the resources to take their child to get that other opinion in another city?
Absolutely. And so it's very important because ADHD, sometimes trauma masks itself and it looks like ADHD. Because there's a lot of trauma, and so there's layers to trauma. And a lot of times what we fail to realize is the things that we wouldn't think is traumatic to us when we're young. We do this test, and it's so simple. It's only 10 questions to identify trauma in a person. And when people mark the list and they're looking at, like, oh my goodness, and it's like, yeah, just the simple things that you think doesn't affect you, it does. And so we carry these things with us, especially when we're young. If something traumatic happens, then the layers, that's our coping mechanism. That's the way our brain copes with trauma, something traumatic happening. And even as an adult, if you have, let's say, for instance, we have an adult on our caseload who he was absolutely fine until he got in a major car wreck. And he got into a car wreck and now he can't drive. He gets so much anxiety when he's in the car. He's terrified. So it's amazing at how it layers itself. And sometimes, a lot of times, doctors get it wrong in children because they see it as ADHD and they're not looking a little bit further to look for the trauma that's behind it.
Right.
And sometimes it's PTSD.
Right. And so for the parents who are struggling with, and I'm sorry, I'm all over the place with these questions.
It's okay.
For those parents who are who gets those diagnoses, and so I was one of those parents that felt like, no, we needed to pray this away. And if I can be honest with you, the only reason I even approved or sought further was because my pastor said, if there is a chemical imbalance, this is not something that we can pray away.
Right.
Because she was older than me and had more experience in that area than I did, because I did not have the experience, and I trusted her enough to go and seek further.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and that's one of the things that in mental health and in our community, we can't beat it out of our children. We can't punish it out of them, taking things away from them, because think about it, it's so funny because one of my therapists actually just said this to us the other day. She had us laughing. She said she was the ADHD whisperer. And we was cracking up. But one of the things that, and I was like, well, I never thought about it like that. She said, with ADHD, you're born with that. So children can't explain to you how they what's the difference in it, because it's something that they're born with.
They haven't had anything else.
Yeah. They haven't had anything else. They don't know anything else.
That's their normal.
That is their normal.
Yeah.
And so we actually have to learn how to adjust and cope with their normal. And it's very important for us to do that. So, with children, you have to pay attention, and they'll tell you what you need to know in their behavior. If your child, nothing you do seems to work as a parent, I always say seek outside help. It's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't say you're a bad parent. It doesn't say that something's wrong with your kid. Your kid can't be normal. It just means that you need some outside help. And sometimes we teach coping skills, which is very important because it teaches that parent how to woosah and not be so all over the place with that kid. That's why we like to approach it from a holistic standpoint. So if your child is in therapy, or if you are in therapy, the entire family is.
Yep.
Because how can I help you if I'm living in the house with you, you're going to therapy, and I'm not a part of that? I don't know how to help you. So we're teaching coping skills so that you can have your woosah moments, because sometimes it does get a little bit difficult because we're dealing with our own internal things.
Yeah. I know when one of the things with us was we had to go into the therapy too, and we had to be corrected because what we were doing in our house, all of us, the children and everybody, we would just kind of get out the way to make sure that the child had a good morning and had a good start to the day. And the counselor said, but the real world is not going to get out of her way. It's your responsibility to address these things, to teach her. We had to teach her her coping skills, teach her her triggers, and so she graduated with a high school diploma. She's doing the things that she wanted to do, but that all started because we did not know. We thought we were doing what was right by making it easy for her to have a good day. He said, the world don't get out of her way. You got to teach her. You got to prepare her for the world. You can't prepare the world for her.
Exactly. Yeah.
So listen, here's a question we got. It says, do you consider some of the brain fog that women experience at the onset of menopause mental illness, or do they need therapy for that? Or have you had any experience with that?
We have, and and it's so crazy because we've had it happen with older women, and we've had it happen in younger girls that are just starting their menstrual cycle. Because the hormones kind of get off balance and they get all over the place. So absolutely. And sometimes, and that's one of the things that we talk about, when I mentioned that you don't know why what's happening is happening. You don't know why the brain fog is happening. You don't know why you're crying all the time, or just why you're sad, or what is this? I feel stuck. So
Yeah.
yes, that is definitely a indicator that you need to come and seek help to mental health.
I love it. I love it. Another question was, excuse me, they said their therapist had made a statement about prolonged anxiety medications can do something to your system or shock your system. Do you have anything you want to say to that, or does it just depend on you need more information?
Well, I definitely don't. I cannot elaborate on the prolonged um reactions to medication in turn, because I'm not a doctor.
Right.
And that is something that if you have a therapist and your therapist is advising you on medication, then you need to change therapist, because the therapist is an expert in therapy. If they don't have an MD degree, then they should not be advising you on medication. That is number one. The first thing that your therapist needs to just take down some information. You can tell the therapist how the medication makes you feel,
Right.
and that therapist can relay that information back to the psychiatrist if they work directly with the psychiatrist.
Yeah.
But if the therapist is giving you information about medication and that therapist is not licensed to do that, then that is not a good therapist.
They've crossed the line.
They have crossed
I'm,
the line.
I'm glad you said that, because, my child sees two different people. One does only counseling, one does medication management. And the one referred to the other. But I remember being in a meeting about my child, and we had the diagnosis from the psychologist. And the people in the meeting were saying, but we don't see that. We don't see that. And I had an advocate with me. And the advocate was putting her hand on me saying, don't argue with them, just let them talk. And afterwards I was like, I don't understand. Why did you let me go back and forth? She said, because you had the proof from the medical professional. Their opinion did not matter. And so it's real important. I'm glad you said what you said. It's real important that those who prescribe the medication, you deal with them when it comes to your medication, and be careful about allowing other people to speak into areas of your life that they're not qualified to speak in.
Absolutely. And so with the therapist, there's a difference also in diagnosing and prescribing.
Yes.
Diagnosing, the psychologist can diagnose.
Right.
The doctor, the psychiatrist can diagnose, and the therapist can diagnose. Now, that just simply means that when the client has an evaluation, they may present one way in front of each person, and each person may see something different in that client. So typically what happens is when you go to the doctor for your initial visit, and the doctor gives you, your psychiatrist give you an initial diagnosis, like let's just say ADHD. And so he pairs you or refer you to a therapist. You start working with the therapist, and the therapist, after working with you for a month or two,
it's good.
No, it's not ADHD. It's definitely oppositional defiance.
Yeah.
That therapist then can give her or his report back to the doctor, because remember, the doctor is just seeing you initially. So what you're presenting to the doctor is just at that moment, but that therapist have had time to build rapport with you,
long-term,
and long-term care, and that therapist can make the change to the diagnosis at that point.
And then it's the doctor that changes the medication.
Absolutely.
That's right. Oh, that's good. Now, Shelby, this is good. I could talk to you all night. I really could, and I really wish, I would encourage young parents to make sure they reach out to somebody that can explain things to them, and don't automatically say, no, there's nothing wrong with my child, because there's still nothing wrong with your child. You're just giving them the help and the advantages that they need, the accommodations that they need to be successful. There's nothing wrong with your child. Right. So I facilitated a leadership retreat for your staff a few years ago. How did my training help your staff? How do you want to? I'll let you talk about that.
Oh my God, the training helped not just my staff but me as well, because it helped me learn how to delegate. It helped me learn how to grow my agency. You taught us great leadership tools. You gave us great leadership tools, and it was something that stayed with me that you said. You said if you want to grow, you have to be able to delegate and prepare those people for leadership.
Right.
And so that resonated with me. You know, if you want to reach 50 people, you can do that by yourself. But if you want to reach 100 people, you got to delegate that
Yep.
person, you know, bring them up so that they can reach the other 50 because your reach is not going to reach that far.
That's
And
right.
I was like, oh, this is such good information because sometimes we will take on things and we just try to hold on to it and not, we want to grow, but we're afraid to trust people with our stuff.
Oh, this is good. I was talking about this last week, and I know I said that because I remember the analogy.
Yes,
Because if you can effectively reach 10 people, once you hit 10, that's it.
that's it.
But if you take those 10 and teach them how to reach 10, now you've just multiplied your reach.
Yes,
So
you
yeah.
taught
Oh,
us
that's
that.
good. Listen, I thank you so much because you gave me a chance in the very beginning, when I was just learning, when I was just getting started. And I even have a couple, the gentleman that was there, he did a video testimonial, and I still have that on my YouTube channel. So thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So this is my last question for you. How can people reach out to your organization for services? With COVID-19, do they have to drive there? Are y'all doing telemed? Just, how can, if they need your services, what areas do you serve? Just speak into that.
Okay. Well, thank God for telemedicine. Let me just say that first and foremost. And it's unfortunate that COVID hit us, and that we all have had to readjust.
Yeah.
But it also there's some benefits to it because for us, we've been doing telemedicine for quite some time before COVID hit, but now we're totally remote. And so we
Oh,
can reach the masses for the people that are in the rural community. It opens the door for them to have that psychiatric service and that therapy service in one place. They're not having to drive to Statesboro or drive to Savannah for medication. Because I'm from Toombs County. So
you already know.
right. And guess what? We can pop right into your computer or your smartphone or your tablet. You can sit right there at home. We ask that you put on clothes. Some people like to come to the camera in their
Oh,
nightgown or
oh
pajamas.
my goodness.
But I know it's comfortable because you're at home, but you can just, and our doctor will pop right in. It's a virtual session. He will prescribe your medications for you, and he can send medications throughout the state of Georgia. So we actually now are able to service the entire state with no restrictions.
Yay! I love it.
Absolutely. So we definitely can reach the masses in the rural areas now, and we welcome that, and so our staff, you can reach us on our website at ravensnestinc.org. You can actually go out and do an intake form yourself under the programs tab. Tell us what's going on. It is a really easy form. It's total it's electronic, so it'll come right to us as soon as you click submit. You also can reach us by calling us at 770-819-6825.
Hold on, tell me that one more time. 770.
819-6825.
Got it.
We have a toll-free number.
Okay.
888-975-3816. And you can email us at info@ravensnestinc.org. So there's definitely many ways to reach us.
That's good. I love it because if you're old school and you want to hear somebody, pick up the phone.
That's right.
If you want to just go ahead and do your own intake form like me, I'm that type of person, right? Just tell me where to go. Let me print my stuff, and then. But you got it. So no matter the way they need the communication is there for them.
Is there.
So listen, I want to thank you so much for joining me on tonight. Thank you for the work that you're doing. It is such a needed work. And I'm thankful for all mental health agencies you know, across the globe, but even more so for it being African-American owned by a female as well. Thank you so much for our young ladies to be able to see somebody that looks like them, that's doing something at another level. This is not something that we see in Vidalia, right? And so we're grateful that you're from Toombs County. And that you're doing a great work throughout the state. Is there anything else you want to say or any word of encouragement you want to leave us with?
Well, absolutely. I just want to make sure that everybody remembers, I always say this every week, your mental health does matter. So it's very important to not be afraid to reach out. You know, the first step is a big step. You know, that's being brave and saying, I do need help.
That's right.
And so we welcome that and we encourage you to do that. And remember, a healthy mind inspires a happy spirit.
Yes. So listen, y'all, thank y'all for joining us. I'll be back again on next Monday night at 6:30 p.m. with another guest. She'll be sharing her amazing stories with you as well. And I'm looking forward to working with some of you. If you're looking for a business coach, you heard Shelby, she said her specialty is in business, and she surrounded herself with the people that could do the work that she was called to do. So I love y'all, and I'll see y'all again on next Monday night.